it's like with any Mustang, I like starting at the back because that seems to be the biggest problem with the Mustang is the back of the car. So I like starting at the back and going to the front. Like with the 197s, we got 3 components to the suspension: the rear grip kit, front grip kit, springs, and shocks. With the IRS cars, we actually have to do it a little bit differently. We have the full rear grip kit, the full grip kit in the back. But what we can do for the IRS, because it's a more complex package, we can do it in offer it in stages. You know, there's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. It's a full-on geometry fix. So to kind of give you a little idea, I just grabbed these just a minute ago. For upgrading the IRS, you know, the first thing that we recommend is our stage 1, which is a combination of forward torque brakes, aluminum diff bushings, and rear steer kit. I just happened to pull some out to show you. This is our diff, our brace, and it is super strong. The factory one, if you look, it's a hollow tube and it has a big curve, and there's very little structural value in a curve. There's perfect structural value in straight lines. So this is super heavy duty, won't bend or move. And between that and then what we do is we add our kind of exclusive, we got a lot of exclusive stuff, come to think of it, diff bushings. Now, these are aluminum diff bushings. And what's kind of cool about these is, I mean, there's, you know, the urethane and rubber, they kind of insulate it. Urethane is better than rubber, but this is better than urethane. And the reason is because it's solid. I mean, it doesn't move. It just locks the front of the diff solid. And the other thing is because it's aluminum, and then if you can see, we've got these big, small washers. We actually can turn this into a small heat sink to help pull some of the heat out of the IRS. Now, IRSs have, you know, they get hot and there's no place for the heat to go. They're just, all this heat's just packaged in this little aluminum case. Or with a live axle car, you got all this metal mass to absorb heat, but IRS, there's nothing there. So they can't overheat. This is not enough heat sink value to run on track. If you're going to run on track with an IRS, you have to have a rear diff cooler. Because like I say, you got to get rid of that heat that builds up inside. But even so, for daily driving around town, this does a pretty good job of pulling heat out of the diff. The other thing is because we stack the washers on the bottom and put the differential mounts on top, we actually increase the rear pinion angle slightly. And something we noticed a long time ago is that, I can't remember the year, maybe 2000 or 2001, I can't remember, that there was the Cobras, some of them had like a driveline vibration issue. And we had one customer that had his Cobra to the dealer multiple times. You know, they changed drive shaft and they changed a whole bunch of parts, and still he still had the driveline vibration. We actually just put in a set of the aluminum diff bushings, raised the pinion angle, the vibration went away. So it does a whole lot of good things. The third part of stage 1 is our rear steer kit, and that is the tie rod. We actually lower the inner point of the tie rod to improve rear roll steer. What I noticed, and when I was testing with Ford Racing down at Road Atlanta on their FR500 program, I can't remember what year it was, but we were actually testing down there, and on the FR500, that was the one that had the extended wheelbase with double wishbone and a really cool motor. What I noticed is at the far end of Road Atlanta, there's 2 sharp right-hand turns. On the second right-hand turn, at every single lap, at the same point, the back of the car would get loose. And also, it did the same thing to me under the bridge, heading down for the last turn, which is a really scary part for the car to get loose. So I came back and I we've done some looking at the geometry of the IRS, and so this time I really focused on the steering. And what I found is once the car got to a certain degree of roll, and don't ask me what that degree is because it was a long time ago, once it got to a certain degree of roll, both rear rears would steer the wrong way. So if you're going around the right-hand corner, once it got to a certain degree of roll, both rear wheels would steer left and the car would get loose. So we kind of helped us a little bit with our rear roll steer kit by moving the inner point down. It's kind of like I keep telling you guys, I get copied, but people don't understand why they're copying me. I've seen some other companies that offer a rear bump steer kit. Okay, so we understand bump steer is at the front of the car. When the car is, when you're steering, you're turning the wheel, and you hit a bump, and the toe changes, that's called bump steer. At the back, the rear tires are driving you forward, so they're not turning. What we get at the back is not bump steer, you get roll steer. When the car rolls, they steer the wrong way. So this takes about half of the roll steer out, which is a big plus. And we've actually had people say that on a dyno, they've seen the wheels do this thing on a chassis dyno. And when I add the bumps, the roll steer kit, then it kind of takes a lot of that out. We take all of it out when we do the geometry mods. Here, one other little thing for IRS guys: if your outer tie rod ends are shot, you can't find them anywhere. I mean, Ford doesn't make them anymore, and very few companies offer these. We actually went to one of our suppliers that made our front tie rods, and we said, "Hey, you can't get these anymore. Can you make them for us?" So we can get factory grade forged outer tie rod ends. So that's kind of like the where you start with the IRS. And then like the next phase would be switching to our tubular lower control arms and coil-over shocks. And he talked about he had the rear shock tower brace, which if you go to coilovers, you need the rear shock tower brace. We've seen pictures of the shock mounts actually splitting away from the body from coilover application because there's so much load going up in there. That's why we have our shock tower brace. It takes care of that. But and putting the subframe connectors in, great decision. I mean, that is probably one of the most important things you can do to a Fox or SN95 Mustang is get subframes, jacking around the matrix. It stiffens up the center of the car. But anyway, that's so phase 2 is the tubular lower control arms and coilover shocks. Phase 3 is just adding the tubular upper control arms. They don't have any change to geometry. However, they're half the weight of the factory. So literally, two of my tubular upper control arms weigh the same as one factory cast iron upper control arm. So that's 2. And then the fourth one is the geometry. And what we do is we actually go in and we essentially cut all the pickup points off, and we have new ones. We make new ones and we put them back on, and the geometry is completely different. And they handle like a dream. Like on Kermie, my track car, we did all the development on. It was 2001 Mustang. We turned it into a IRS Cobra. I could put that car anywhere on track. I could drive it all day. It handled like a dream. Nothing scary. It's just a joy to drive. And that was kind of like the start of our geometry.